Well, let's go into the chamber, the hotbed of debate. Yes, at the moment it's the Civic Forum, and Barry, not Basil as I called him yesterday, Barry McElduff is currently speaking to the motion.
Perhaps on a quarterly basis, organisations such as in the Omagh district, organisations like Forum, which is an umbrella group for rural community groups, Focus, which is an umbrella group for town-based community groups, Omagh Ethnic Community Support Group, and Omagh Women's Area Network. There is a strong voluntary and community sector in Omagh, and I would like to think that whoever would end up on a Civic Forum to represent the community and voluntary sector, that they would properly reflect the views of the groups that I have just mentioned. There should be a requirement for report back. Again, it is a good idea to take a critical review stance in relation to the membership. Ian McCrae suggested that it wasn't representative enough, and he was making some strong points, until he took exception to a Bogside resident spokesman being on the Civic Forum. Surely it is not good practice to discriminate against people on grounds of political opinion, including the Bogside resident spokesman. The Bogside residents have every entitlement to be heard in a Civic Forum, and your point was strong through you as Deputy Speaker, until the point where you started to discriminate against people who don't share your political opinions. So, certainly.
Could the member advise me, therefore, if he takes great offence at my description or discrimination of a member from the Bogside, will he not accept that the whole forum discriminated against many members from the Unionist and Orange and Protestant Churches tradition?
I think the merit of Mr McCrae's case should be examined by the First Minister and Deputy First Minister and the review of the Civic Forum. It should at least be listened to, given a strong hearing. Equally, I would suggest that it is wrong to discriminate against anybody from the nationalist tradition, from Derry, for example, who has a contrary political opinion to that of your good self. In reaching a conclusion, then, Deputy Speaker, I would say that our own engagement and outreach strategy within the Assembly, as an Assembly, is very important as well. And we need to reach rural communities, we need to reach provincial and county towns, and meet the people as an Assembly as well. And that's why I welcome the roadshow idea, which is being taken forward, I believe, by the Director of Engagement. Thanks very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. I call Mr Alistair Ross. Mr Ross.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I welcome the opportunity to speak on this debate and congratulate my colleagues for bringing it forward today. I think that when we're considering this motion today, we need to ask ourselves if the Civic Forum was actually value for money, and if actually it served any real purpose. What did Northern Ireland get out of the tens of thousands of pounds that was ploughed into it? Described as some as a second chamber of sorts, it was appointed, as we've heard, from civic society, and somewhat was based on the assumption that in this chamber we can't represent the views of those who elect us. I've heard and read comments from members over the last number of days who have said that the Civic Forum is the voice of the people. Well, what's the point of us? Do we not represent those people? Do we not consult with the public and listen to their views? It has already been said by my colleagues, but it seemed to me that the Civic Forum was constituted with people who simply may not have been able to get elected any other way. It was not representative of the community as a whole. Rather, it was made up, in the most part, of those who were seen as safe or friendly by the then First and Deputy First Minister. We already have enough quangos and organisations in Northern Ireland without constituting this one. Mr Deputy Speaker, it's recognised how over-governed we've been here in Northern Ireland.
Point of order, Mr Atwood.
I resisted getting involved earlier, but we now have two members of the DUP who have characterised the membership of the Civic Forum in this way. The latest speaker said that the members of the Civic Forum, for the most part, were safe or friendly to then OFM DFM, and Mr McCrae referred to the members of the Civic Forum as anti-unionist, anti-orange and anti-evangelical. Is it in order for people to be portrayed in that way?
That is not a point of order. It is a matter of opinion which Mr Ross has expressed, as entitled to express in this chamber. Mr Ross.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. As I was saying, that Northern Ireland here were already over-governed. We have had 26 councils. We have 108 MLAs here at Stormont, and that's as well as our MPs in Westminster, our peers in the Lords and our MEPs in Europe, as well as other bodies such as the North-South Ministerial Council and the British Irish Council. Our party have been consistent in looking to slim down government. We've seen the local government bill reduce the number of councils from 26 towards 11, and we've seen this Assembly back a motion to reduce the number of executive departments here. Ultimately, I think we'll also have to look at reducing the number of MLAs and examine whether in the current economic climate the various north-south bodies are really value for money for the taxpayers in Northern Ireland. Having tens of layers of government, or big government, doesn't make for good government. This huge wastage and duplication of services, and this is something that currently we cannot afford to do. We should be looking to optimise the use of taxpayers' money. I listened to Anna Lowe describe about the huge sums associated with the Civic Forum. But of course, the major issue is not perhaps as much the huge amount of money, but whether people are getting value for money. Dolores Kelly said that this debate is some sort of deflection from the big issues. Well, I would ask her how many hospital operations or childcare places, residential home care places, social houses even, or road maintenance can be done for the amount of money that was being ploughed into the Civic Forum. I think that money is much better being spent on frontline services. We should. I will.
That the makeup of the last forum was basically people who were rejected by the electorate, and it was another job of nodding and winking.
Yeah, I made the point that many felt that the forum was made up of people who perhaps couldn't get elected from when they stood in elections. I'd just like to turn to the very issue of very briefly.
We've got the list of names of people who were members of the forum. Would you just go through them and name those that stood for election and who were rejected?
Well, I think another one that springs to mind is Gary McMichael, who couldn't get elected to this chamber, and who was then appointed to make sure that they were represented. But I really want to make some progress. I think in the last, when I give away that much that I missed out in any speaking time. Turning to this issue about the Civic Forum being a voice of the people, I know that my colleagues and myself on these benches hold weekly constituency surgeries in our office. Indeed, the DUP boasts a plethora of offices throughout the country to ensure that our representatives at every level are accessible to the people that we represent. We are directly answerable to the public. They essentially interview us at every election time and decide whether we come back to this chamber or not. I don't think that we need a Civic Forum to tell us what the public think, because I and my staff talk to the public every day through meetings or letters or emails or telephone calls. The public tell us what they think. The public tell us what they want us to do here. And I think that if other members don't feel that they're getting that communication with the public, perhaps they need to reassess how they're doing their job. I know that in East Antrim, the issues that people are coming to me about at the moment are about care home closures, it's about education, it's about health, it's about public transport, and it's about people losing their jobs in this current economic time. So they do have that voice, and they come to us for that. As Mr McFarlane talked about groups in civic society having a voice, well, they do have a voice, and he's already outlined how they can interact with committees here. And of course, the other thing that is available is the all-party groups that have been set up in this Assembly. I know that many groups in civic society regularly meet with those all-party groups. So how can civic society play a role? We've already talked about ways in which this can be done, and I think we do need to examine it further, and it says in the motion that that needs to be done. You know, the Assembly Commission over recent weeks have had a number of questions about how to improve public interaction with these institutions here at Stormont, whether it be from improving the video linking from committee rooms or from this chamber. I think that's a way to help people understand. I know that every day we have hundreds of people coming to visit Parliament buildings, including a number of young groups who I meet with on an almost daily basis. I think that's positive, and it's definitely a positive thing that more young people are coming to see here what we do here and can interact in that way. But one issue that is important is that the public consultations that we do.
And of course he has to mention the fact that thousands of you are watching him as he's live in the chamber there. Now we'll return to that debate with some guests in the studio later in the programme.